And turning now to the tension between the United States and Venezuela, there is this moment that was kind of overlooked last week, but looking back, it seems very, very consequential. Take a listen to Secretary of War Pete Hegseth talking to troops off the coast of Puerto Rico last week.
Looking out at these faces, looking out at this Caribbean, on a floating island of American power, on the front lines of defending the American homeland.
Now, with hindsight being 2020, like a few days after that, on Monday, we saw the military carry out its second deadly airstrike against a Venezuelan boat allegedly carrying drugs bound for the United States, they said. All of this as the Department of War continues to build up big military presence in the Caribbean. You've got 8 U.S. warships amassing near Puerto Rico. There's an attack submarine, a bunch of stealth fighters, drones, over 4,000, I believe, Marines and sailors now deployed all to that theater as well. Meanwhile, Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro has said that the United States is trying to force a regime change in Venezuela. Let's bring in NBC News political contributor Carlos Curbelo to talk a little bit more about these tensions. Carlos, great to see you. Thanks so much for being with us. It is really hard to tell these days what is posturing and what is more than that. But since we keep seeing these escalations, like if the Trump administration is considering something like U.S. intervention in Venezuela, and they are kind of presenting the pros and the cons and that whole list to them, what do those pros and cons look like right now?
Well, Gadi, I can tell you that for sure, for a long time, President Trump has been interested in the idea, intrigued by the idea of doing something, some kind of intervention to destabilize the government there. I remember in the spring of 2018, I was on an Air Force flight with him, Air Force One flight with him, and he asked me numerous times what my views were on the idea of the United States intervening militarily in Venezuela. Look, the pros are Venezuelan government is a rogue regime. It's a regime that abuses human rights. Many of the victims of the Maduro and prior to him Chavez regimes live in the United States because they sought refuge here from a very, very dictatorial government. So that would be good. It's an anti-American government, so that would be good if that government was no longer in power. I think the risks are in the how. If the United States unilaterally intervenes in a country like Venezuela, are we sending a message to the Chinese that it would be okay for them to intervene in Taiwan? Are we sending a message to the Russians that they can try to invade a different country? I'm not trying to create an equivalence because, again, Venezuela is a government that's done a lot of damage to a lot of people, but we could set a precedent or send a signal that could destabilize other parts of the world.
And you know, the thing that a lot of people have been talking about for quite some time on the legality of all this is whether or not these are extrajudicial killings or whether or not these are acts of war that are being perpetrated against terrorists, narco-terrorists in this case. Like those legal debates, do you see them having any effect on Secretary of War Hegseth or the current leadership at the Department of War?
So, Gadi, this is a very important point because traditionally, drug interdiction, these types of exercises were law enforcement exercises, not military exercises. The Coast Guard used to lead these efforts. There was coordination with the military. All of this for a long time, and I think it's still the case, was led and directed out of an interagency task force that's located in Key West. And there was always coordination between the Coast Guard and the military. In fact, the military would command Coast Guard vessels and then would release them right as they were getting ready to take action, right, to either stop one of these fast boats or arrest people or detain people, whatever it was. This is something totally new. The reason why I don't think it's getting a whole lot of pushback at it is because there isn't a whole lot of sympathy for the Venezuelan regime in Congress. Republicans and Democrats have denounced and condemned that regime for years. So I think they're giving the administration a free pass here, but certainly this is something extraordinary new when we're shifting these drug interdiction exercises from law enforcement activities to military operations.
Yeah, big difference between interdiction and military intervention. Carlos Curbelo, thank you so much for your insight, and we'll be checking back with you on this. Thank you.